On August 25, 2026, the world lost one of its most beloved entertainers. Dolly Parton, songwriter, actress, philanthropist, and by nearly every poll taken in the last decade, one of the most admired public figures in America, died at the age of 80. Her death was confirmed by her longtime head of security in a statement posted to her official social media accounts. According to her estate, she died at the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center in Nashville after what the family described as a brief battle with cancer, a diagnosis she had not shared publicly before her passing. For months, fans had watched her step back from the spotlight in pieces. A postponed residency, a missed award ceremony, a series of videos in which she insisted, cheerfully, that she wasn't going anywhere. This is the story of that final year. What she said, what she didn't say, and what she built and gave away right up until the end. To understand what the world lost, it helps to remember where she came from. Dolly Rebecca Parton was born in a one-room cabin in the Great Smoky Mountains of Sevier County, Tennessee, one of 12 children raised in a family with almost nothing. She has told the story of that cabin, and of a coat sewn from scraps of fabric that became the inspiration for her song, Coat of Many Colors, more times than almost any other in American music. It became shorthand for everything she represented, poverty transformed into art, and hardship worn like a badge rather than hidden away. She started performing as a child on local radio and television in Knoxville, and the day after she graduated high school, she boarded a bus for Nashville to become a star. That same day, as she would tell the story for the rest of her life, she met a young man named Carl Dean outside a laundromat. It is one of the most famous meet-cute stories in American celebrity history, mostly because almost nothing else about their marriage would ever again play out in public. Over the following 6 decades, Parton built a career that has few real comparisons in American entertainment. She is credited with writing more than 3,000 songs, a body of work that includes Jolene, I Will Always Love You, 9 to 5, and Coat of Many Colors. I Will Always Love You alone would become one of the best-selling singles in history after Whitney Houston's 1992 recording, and Parton has said publicly, on more than one occasion, that the royalties from that single cover let her buy back her Dollywood theme park stake, a detail she treated as one of her favorite jokes about the strange fortunes of the music business. She crossed into film with 9 to 5 alongside Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin in 1980, and she opened Dollywood in the Great Smoky Mountains in 1986, turning her childhood home region into a permanent economic engine for East Tennessee. In 1995, she founded the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, a charity that mails a free book every month to enrolled children from birth until they start school. By the spring of 2026, that program had gifted more than 314 million books to children across 5 countries and was sending roughly 3.4 million books out every month, one of the largest ongoing literacy efforts run by any private individual in the world. None of that, however, is what dominated the headlines of her final 18 months. What dominated them was grief, and a body that had quietly begun to fail her. Carl Thomas Dean died on March 3, 2025, at the age of 82. He and Parton had been married for nearly 58 years. They would have reached their 59th anniversary that May, and for almost the entirety of that marriage, he had stayed almost completely out of public life. By his own choice, he preferred his farm and his privacy to any part of his wife's fame. There are only a handful of photographs of the two of them together spanning 6 decades. When he died, Parton released a short public statement, followed days later by a longer message she described as a love note to her family, friends, and fans. Soon after, she released a song written for him. What she did not say publicly at the time, and what she would only admit more than a year later, was how much that loss cost her physically. In an October 2025 video message, she told fans plainly that back when Carl was very sick, which had been for a long time, and then after he passed, she had not taken care of herself. She said she had let a lot of things go that she should have been tending to. It is worth sitting with that admission, because it reframes everything that followed. The woman who has spent 60 years performing warmth and humor on command was telling her audience, in her own words, that grief had a body count, and that for more than a year, she had been paying it quietly while continuing to smile in public. By September 2025, the physical toll had become impossible to fully conceal. Parton announced she was postponing a long-anticipated Las Vegas residency, originally set for December 2025, citing unspecified health challenges. She pushed the dates to September 2026, a residency that, as it turned out, she would never perform. A month later, on October 8, 2025, she posted a video specifically to calm rising public speculation, asking her fans directly whether she looked sick to them. She said she had some problems, as she'd mentioned, and that once she reconnected with her doctors, they'd told her which issues needed attention. For the time being, she said, she planned to stay close to home while she tended to her health. The speculation intensified regardless. Her younger sister, Frida Parton, posted an emotional message asking fans to pray for Dolly, language urgent enough that it briefly sent panicked headlines around the world before Frida clarified she hadn't meant to alarm anyone. Around the same period, fabricated AI-generated images purporting to show Parton hospitalized began circulating online, part of a broader wave of misinformation about celebrity health that has become increasingly common. Parton addressed the images herself with characteristic humor, joking about the absurdity of the fake photos while still being clear that she was managing real, serious health issues, not fabricating them for sympathy. She missed two major honors that November. On November 16, 2025, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences presented her with the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award at its Governor's Award ceremony. Her 9 to 5 co-star Lily Tomlin accepted on her behalf while Parton appeared only in a pre-recorded video. The next day, she was inducted into the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions Hall of Fame in Orlando, becoming just the fourth person, and only the second woman, ever inducted solo in that organization's history, and again could not attend in person. By March 2026, at the opening of Dollywood's 41st season, she gave what would become one of her most quoted health updates. She told the crowd she'd had a few little health issues that she and her doctors were taking good care of, and that grief over Carl, layered with everything else, had simply worn her down and worn her out. She joked, as she often did, about her late husband waiting for her on the other side, a line delivered with a smile that fans and commentators alike would later describe as carrying more weight than laughter. The clearest picture came on May 4, 2026, when Parton posted a longer video update to Instagram. She told fans she had good news and a little bad news. The good news was that she was responding well to her medications and treatments and improving every day. The bad news was that her recovery would take longer than hoped, because the medication left her, in her words, swimmy-headed, a phrase she credited to her grandmother, making it impossible to safely perform in the heels and heavy costumes her stage shows required. In that same video, she offered her most direct medical disclosure yet. She had been dealing with kidney stones, joking that doctors had pulled more stones out of her in a year than out of a rock quarry back home in Tennessee. She added that her immune system and digestive system had been, in her words, out of whack for the past 2 or 3 years, a detail that quietly extended the real timeline of her decline well beyond the months since Carl's death. She also confirmed that her treatment had been taking place close to Vanderbilt, a detail that told close observers this was more than a routine urological issue, given that Vanderbilt University Medical Center is a major academic hospital system, not typically the destination for uncomplicated kidney stones. Even as she said this, she drew a distinction that stayed with fans. She noted, with her usual bluntness, that plastic surgeons can only do so much for the outside of a person, but that internal medicine is a far more serious matter. It was a striking line from a woman who had spent 5 decades openly joking about her own cosmetic procedures, and one that suggested she understood, better than her public tone let on, how serious her situation had become. That Las Vegas residency, already once postponed, was not rescheduled again. It was cancelled outright. Through the summer of 2026, she kept working anyway. She gave an interview to People magazine on August 21st, just 4 days before her death, in which she said plainly that she was dealing with some health issues that she hadn't paid attention to while she was focused on caring for Carl. She noted her immune and digestive systems were still being rebuilt and strengthened, and, in a comment that reflected both her humor and her awareness of the rumor mill around her, she joked that she used to call herself the queen of the tabloids, and now she supposed she was the queen of social media AI, referencing the fabricated images still circulating about her condition. She also told the outlet she had so many things she still wanted to achieve, giving no indication in her own words that the end was imminent. Reports following her death indicate she was admitted to Vanderbilt University Medical Center early in the morning on August 25, 2026, with kidney and autoimmune complications, and that she died there within hours. Her estate's statement confirmed the underlying cause was cancer, a diagnosis that, by all public accounts, had not been shared with her audience before that day. What makes the final chapter of Dolly Parton's life so striking is how much she kept building even as her body was failing her. In downtown Nashville, the Songteller Hotel, a 245-room property on Commerce Street featuring themed acoustic suites and 2 on-site music venues, was preparing to open in June 2026, alongside an attached museum called Dolly's Life of Many Colors, described as the largest exhibit ever built about her career. At Dollywood, the park's largest single attraction investment in its history, a $50 million indoor hybrid ride called Night Flight Expedition, opened in the spring of 2026 and went on to win industry recognition for innovation, though she had to miss its debut celebration in person. She also continued releasing music tied to causes she cared about. Earlier in 2026, she re-released her 1977 hit, Light of a Clear Blue Morning, with Lainey Wilson, Miley Cyrus, Queen Latifah, and Reba McEntire, with proceeds directed toward pediatric cancer research at the Monroe Carell Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt, the same medical complex where she herself was being treated, and where she would ultimately pass away. In late February 2026, East Tennessee Children's Hospital in Knoxville was renamed the Dolly Parton Children's Hospital in her honor. She turned 80 that January, and the state of Tennessee officially declared the day Dolly Parton Day, with the Grand Ole Opry hosting a tribute concert in her name. In one of her last public statements about her career, she mentioned she was considering the idea of avatar performances, digital or hologram-based shows, a technology already used by artists ranging from ABBA to Michael Jackson's estate, as a way to keep performing for fans even as her body limited what she could do live. It was, in hindsight, a striking acknowledgement that she understood her physical performing career might be ending, even as she searched for ways to keep giving her audience what they'd always come to her for. It would be easy to write the final year of Dolly Parton's life as a mystery, a string of postponed shows and vague statements building toward an unavoidable ending. But her own words, read together, tell a much more human story than a mystery ever could. She described, in plain language, what it costs to care for a dying spouse for years, and what it costs afterward when the caregiving ends and the grief has nowhere left to go. She kept working through it not because she was in denial, but because work was, by her own repeated account, how she processed loss, the same way writing, if you hadn't been there days after Carl's death was. Her goddaughter Miley Cyrus, asked about her health last year, said simply that the show must go on and that Dolly was excited to get back to work. That instinct, to keep building, keep giving, keep showing up even from a hospital bed or a pre-recorded video, was consistent from the moment fans first grew worried in September 2025 to her final interview 4 days before she died. She left behind an imagination library still sending millions of books to children every month, a hotel and museum opening in her name, a hospital wing carrying her name, and a body of songwriting that will outlast every headline written about her final year. President Trump ordered flags lowered in her honor following her death, and tributes poured in from figures across country music and beyond, Reba McEntire and Lily Tomlin among the first to speak, both women having stood in for her at moments in that final year when her body would not let her stand in for herself. Dolly Parton spent 60 years turning hardship into song and turning fame into generosity. In the end, she spent her last 18 months doing exactly what she had always done, telling the truth in the gentlest way she knew how, staying busy for as long as her body would allow, and giving her fans just enough information to understand, without ever asking them to grieve for her before she was ready to go.